My phone buzzed while I was trying to convince Mrs. Patterson that her rusted Civic was worth exactly half what she thought. The text from my wife, Rina, made my stomach drop. Calla came over. "You're staying late tonight, right?" I stared at those words, feeling that familiar twist in my gut. Rina never asked about my schedule unless she wanted me gone, and Calla, her so-called best friend, had been spending way too much time at our house lately. "Mr. Harlow?" Mrs. Patterson's voice snapped me back. "Are you even listening?" "Sorry," I muttered, pocketing the phone. "Look, I can do $3,000, cash. Take it or leave it." She huffed and stormed out. Another lost sale, but I had bigger problems. I grabbed my jacket and headed for the door, calling over my shoulder to Jimmy, my mechanic. "Lock up for me. I got somewhere to be." 20 minutes later, I sat in my truck outside Mason's construction office. Calla's husband was a good guy, too good for what was coming, but he deserved to know what his wife was really doing during those girls' nights with Rina. I dialed his number. "Mason, it's Finn. We need to talk." "Hey buddy, what's up?" "Meet me at Elias Corven's office in an hour. Bring your camera." "Camera? Finn, what's going on?" I took a deep breath. "Your wife and mine are having an affair, and tonight, we're going to catch them." The silence stretched so long I thought he'd hung up. Then, "Are you sure?" "Absolutely certain. 1 hour, Mason. Don't let me down." Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. Elias Corven had been my lawyer since my dad's dealership went through probate. Old school, sharp as a razor, and completely unimpressed by human drama. Perfect for what I needed. "This is inadvisable," he said, adjusting his tie as we climbed the stairs to Rina's downtown apartment. "Confrontation rarely serves divorce proceedings." "I'm not looking to serve proceedings," I replied. "I'm looking to serve justice." Mason trudged behind us, his face pale. The poor guy had spent the last hour in denial, making excuses for Calla's behavior. But when I showed him the credit card receipts, flowers, lingerie, romantic dinners while I was supposedly working late, reality hit hard. "She bought roses," he'd whispered. "Calla hates roses, says they're cliché." Now we stood outside Rina's door. I could hear music inside, soft and romantic. The kind Rina never played for me anymore. I used my key. The living room was dimly lit, candles flickering on the coffee table. Wine glasses sat half empty beside takeout containers from that expensive Italian place downtown. And there, on the couch, wrapped in each other's arms like teenagers, were my wife and Mason's. They froze when they saw us. Rina's face went white. Calla actually had the nerve to look annoyed. "Finn!" Rina scrambled to fix her disheveled blouse. "What are you doing here?" "Funny question," I said, stepping aside so Mason could see. "What are you doing here?" Mason made a sound like a wounded animal. Elias quietly pulled out his phone, recording everything. "This isn't what it looks like," Calla said, standing up with that fake smile she'd perfected. "We were just what?" Mason's voice cracked. "Just having a romantic dinner? Just cuddling on the couch? Just destroying our marriages?" Rina tried a different approach. "Finn, you don't understand. I've been so lonely, and you're always working. Save it." I looked around the apartment. Our apartment, paid for, with money from my struggling dealership, while she played house with her girlfriend. "You wanted drama, Rina? Congratulations, I brought the audience." The next morning, I sat in my office, scrolling through the evidence I'd been collecting for months. Text messages, receipts, photos Calla had stupidly posted on social media. She'd even sent a flirty message to the wrong group chat once, meant for Rina, sent to our neighborhood book club instead. My phone rang. Rina. "We need to talk," she said. "No, we don't." "Finn, please, let me explain." "Explain what? How you've been lying to me for 6 months? How you moved into that apartment with my money so you could cheat in comfort? It's not like that. Then what is it like, Rina? Silence. Then, I love her. Those 3 words hit harder than I expected. Not because they hurt, they did, but because they made everything clear. This wasn't a mistake or a phase, this was a choice, a calculated, deliberate choice to humiliate me. Good for you, I said. Hope it was worth it. I hung up and opened my laptop. Time to share the love. By noon, half our mutual friends had seen the screenshots. By evening, the other half had heard the story secondhand. I didn't embellish or lie. I didn't need to. The truth was damaging enough. My neighbor Janet called around dinner time. Finn, honey, I just heard. I'm so sorry. Thanks, Janet. If it helps, we all suspected something. The way Calla looked at Rina at the barbecue last month, it was obvious to everyone but you and Mason. That stung. Why didn't anyone say anything? What were we supposed to say? Hey, your wife might be having an affair with her best friend? You would have thought we were crazy. Fair point. Well, now you know you weren't. Are you okay? I looked around my empty house. Rina had moved out that morning, taking half our stuff and leaving a note about needing space. I'm getting there. 2 weeks later, I did something that would have seemed impossible a month ago. I took Rina to dinner. Our anniversary dinner, specifically, at Romano's, the fancy place where we'd celebrated our engagement 5 years earlier. She actually showed up, probably thinking I wanted to reconcile. She looked nervous, fidgeting with her wedding ring. Thank you for coming, I said, raising my wine glass. I wanted to do this right. Finn, if this is about getting back together, it's not. I stood up, tapping my fork against the glass. The restaurant wasn't packed, but there were enough people to matter. Ladies and gentlemen, if I could have your attention for just a moment. Rina's eyes went wide. Finn, what are you doing? I'd like to make a toast, I announced, to my wife Rina and her best friend Calla. Their friendship is truly special. So special, in fact, that they've been sharing everything. And I mean everything. The restaurant went quiet. Rina tried to grab my arm, but I stepped back. You see, I discovered recently that their bond goes far beyond normal friendship. They've been having an affair for months, using an apartment I pay for, buying romantic dinners with credit cards I fund. So here's to Rina and Calla. May their love be as public as their lies. I pulled out my phone and held up a screenshot of their text conversation. This one's my favorite. Can't wait until Finn leaves for work tomorrow. I have something special planned for us. Rina bolted for the door. Half the restaurant stared after her. The other half stared at me. I sat back down and finished my wine. The waiter approached cautiously. Sir, your wife left her purse. She's not my wife anymore, I said, dropping a 50 on the table. Keep the change. Elias had been busy. Within a week of our restaurant performance, Rina found herself locked out of our joint accounts, her credit cards canceled, and her car insurance mysteriously lapsed. Is this legal? She demanded over the phone. Perfectly legal, I replied. You want to play house with Calla? Do it on your own dime. You can't just cut me off. Watch me. But I wasn't done. Through my dealership connections, I learned that Calla worked at a nonprofit downtown, something about children's literacy. I made a few calls, shared a few screenshots of her more explicit messages to Rina. Nothing illegal, just enough to raise questions about her judgment and professionalism. She was let go the following Tuesday. Mason, meanwhile, had thrown Calla out of their house. She was staying with Rina in that downtown apartment, both of them suddenly unemployed and running out of money fast. You're destroying their lives, Janet said when she brought me a casserole. I mean, I understand why, but still. They destroyed mine first, I replied. I'm just returning the favor. What's the end game here, Finn? I thought about that. What did I want? An apology? Rina back? No. That ship had sailed the moment she chose Calla over our marriage. I want them to understand consequences, I said finally. For 5 years, Rina never faced a real consequence for anything. Time she learned. The call from Elias came on a Thursday morning. We need to meet. I found something. His office smelled like old leather and disappointment. He slid a folder across his desk. I've been digging into Calla's background, he said. Remember that charity embezzlement scandal 3 years ago? The one where someone tipped off the board about missing funds? I nodded. What about it? That was you, wasn't it? You discovered the irregularities during a routine audit and reported them. So the person who got fired was Calla Torren. She was using her position to skim donations, and your report got her terminated and blacklisted from nonprofit work. The pieces clicked together. She's been planning this. For 3 years, by my estimation, she befriended Rina specifically to get revenge on you. The affair wasn't spontaneous. It was calculated. I stared at the documents, financial records, employment history, even social media posts showing Calla gradually inserting herself into our social circle. Rina doesn't know? I doubt it. She probably thinks this is true love. But Calla? She orchestrated everything. That changed things. Rina was guilty of cheating, but Calla was guilty of something worse: manipulation. She'd destroyed my marriage not for love, but for revenge. What do you want to do? Elias asked. I closed the folder. I want to have a conversation with Ms. Torren. I found Calla at her new job, a coffee shop downtown, the kind of place where former nonprofit executives go to hide. She looked tired, older somehow. Good. Hello, Calla. She looked up from the espresso machine, and for just a moment, I saw fear in her eyes. Then the mask slipped back into place. Finn, I wondered when you'd show up. Did you? I bet you've been wondering about a lot of things lately. Like how I figured it out. Figured what out? I leaned against the counter. The shop was nearly empty, just us and an old man reading a newspaper in the corner. The embezzlement, 3 years ago, Children's Future Foundation. Ring any bells? Her face went pale. I don't know what you're talking about. Sure you do. You were stealing from kids, Calla, sick kids, and I caught you. You ruined my life. No, you ruined your life. I just reported what I found. I smiled. But you couldn't let it go, could you? So you decided to ruin mine. She glanced toward the back office, probably hoping her manager would appear. No such luck. You spent 3 years planning this, I continued. Befriending Rina, gaining her trust, slowly turning her against me, very patient, very thorough. Rina loves me. Rina loves the idea of you, the fantasy you created. But what happens when she finds out the truth? That you seduced her just to hurt me? Calla's hands shook as she wiped down the counter. You can't prove anything. Actually, I can. I pulled out my phone. Financial records, employment history, even your old social media posts. Amazing what people share online when they think nobody's watching. What do you want? I want you to understand something, Calla. You thought you were the puppet master pulling everyone's strings, but you made one mistake. What's that? You underestimated me. The community center was perfect, public enough to matter, private enough to control. I'd rented it for a neighborhood meeting about property values, but the real agenda was justice. They all came. Rina, Calla, Mason, most of our mutual friends, even Janet from next door. I'd set up a projector and screen like a corporate presentation. Thank you all for coming, I began. I know this is unusual, but I have something important to share. Rina shifted uncomfortably in her seat. Calla looked ready to bolt. 3 years ago, I discovered financial irregularities at a local charity. Someone was stealing from children, sick children, to fund their lifestyle. I clicked to the first slide. That person was Calla Torren. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Calla shot to her feet. "This is harassment." "Sit down," I said calmly. "We're just getting started." The next slide showed financial records, bank statements, evidence of systematic theft. The crowd grew restless. After losing her job, Ms. Torren decided to get revenge. She spent 3 years infiltrating my social circle, befriending my wife, and ultimately seducing her into an affair. "That's not true!" Rina stood up, her face flushed. "Calla and I fell in love naturally." "Did you?" I clicked to the next slide, screenshots of Calla's old social media posts, showing her gradual insertion into our friend group. "Look at the dates, Rina. Look at the pattern." The room went silent as people studied the evidence. Rina stared at the screen, her expression changing from anger to confusion to horror. "Calla?" she whispered. "Is this true?" Calla tried to push past the crowd toward the exit, but Mason blocked her path. "Answer her," he said quietly. "It started as revenge," Calla admitted, her voice breaking, "but then I really did fall in love with her. After you destroyed her marriage," I said. "After you manipulated her into betraying everything she believed in." Rina collapsed into her chair, sobbing. The crowd began to murmur, then talk, then argue. Some defended Rina, others condemned her. Everyone turned on Calla. I watched it all with grim satisfaction. Justice, served cold and in public. "You're a monster!" Calla spat at me as she finally reached the door. "Maybe," I replied, "but at least I'm an honest monster." The community center emptied slowly, people clustering in small groups to dissect what they'd witnessed. Rina sat alone in the front row, staring at her hands. "I didn't know," she said without looking up. "About the revenge part, I mean. I thought she loved me. Maybe she did, by the end. Doesn't change what she did to get there. And it doesn't change what I did to you." I sat down beside her, not close, but close enough. "No, it doesn't. Can you ever forgive me?" I thought about that. Could I forgive her for the affair? For the lies? For choosing someone else over our marriage? Maybe, someday. But forgiveness didn't mean reconciliation. "I can forgive you for being human," I said finally. "I can't forgive you for being cruel." She nodded, tears streaming down her face. "What happens now?" "Now you figure out who you are without me. And without her." I stood up and walked toward the door. Behind me, I heard Rina call my name one last time. I didn't turn around. Outside, the evening air was crisp and clean. My truck sat alone in the parking lot, waiting to take me home. To my house, my life, my future. A future I'd have to build from scratch, but at least it would be honest. They'd called me the villain in this story. Maybe they were right, but I'd worn that label better than they'd ever worn their masks of innocence, and that was enough.